Rightio, so we're going to look at 5G, inverse functions, and question 2a. So functions is the key word here, so let's have a look. We've got the function f is the domain R, maps onto the real number plane for f of x equals 6 minus 2x. So if you think about that, that's just simply a straight line, and it's got a negative gradient of 2, and it cuts the y-axis at that. So you don't have to really worry about graphing it, but I'm just putting it there so you can get an idea in your head that this is a straight line, okay? And so our domain of that, it's always good to write down the domain is going to be R, and of course the range is going to be R, so just keep that in mind, because at the end, when we do our inverse, we have to state the domain and range for most questions. So our first step now to getting this to an inverse is we say let y equals f of x. This just makes things nice and easy, so we end up with y equals 6 minus 2x. Okay, so all we've done is just rewrite this instead of f of x as a y equals. Nice and straightforward. So now we get to our inverse. So what we do there is we swap x and y. So let's have a look at that. So where I get my y, I'm going to write an x equals 6 minus, and then where I've got my x, I'm going to write y. So there's the start of my inverse function, but I've got to rearrange that because I want it in terms of y. So this is where the tricky part is, but it's not that tricky. I've got a positive 6 here, so when I take that over to the other side, I get x minus 6 equals minus 2y. So now I want the y by itself, so I divide by 2. So divide by 2, and so I end up getting, divide by negative 2, y equals x minus 6 over negative 2. I can simplify that down to get it to x over negative 2, and that will be a plus 6 over 2, which would equal x over negative 2 plus 3, and then up here I can rearrange it again, but let's write it as f to the minus 1 of x, so I've got to write it back. I'm going to put my positive 3 at the start, so there's that. So there's my inverse function. So that's my inverse function there. Okay, if you left it in that form, that would have been fine, but this is just a mathematically neater version of it. Does that make sense? Now, we also have to do our domain and range. So that is just a straight line again. Okay, it's just got a less steep gradient. It's a gradient of negative a half, and it goes through 3 as the y-intercept. But let's have a look. What's our domain? So it's still going to be in our range. So when we find the inverse, we just swap our domain and range around as well. So we swapped x and y and we swapped these, but for this one, it's just going to be R and R. So there we go. That's all we need to do.